When it comes to deer hunting myths, misunderstandings, there's just plain a lot of bad information out there. We could go through talks about EHD and water, CWD. There's a lot of misunderstandings. And I think a lot of it's born out of the scientific community with a lack of actual practical application, especially for small hunting parcels and landowner desires and wishes, even public land hunting. There's a huge disconnect between this is what science says, but this is what's actually going on in the field and what's actually happening, and really the effect of large parcel or large government agency applications and habitat improvements and practices slam down into the small hunting parcel world, and there's a total disconnect. People try to put those together into one, but it's just really ineffective. And so I wanted to go over just some basic misunderstandings. We can go on, we can probably go to the top 50 deer habitat myths, deer management myths, deer hunting myths, but we're just going to go over a few here today. And these are ones that we're going through right now that we have a lot of questions on, especially when it comes to a collection of clients between the four of us with Joe Youngblood in Michigan and Eastern Wisconsin, Kevin Smith in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and then Dylan everywhere, and then myself in the states that I work in regularly. A lot of our questions we get on YouTube and social media. People just want to know. And so we're going to go through a few of these right now, just really quick. And number one, there are a lot of people planting trees, shrubs for deer and grasses. And deer don't like to bed in conifer. They don't like to bed in grass. Neither one is a food, any type of browse, unless they're starving. Winter starvation food is red cedar. White cedar is okay. It can sustain them for a few weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, but when it gets too long, it can even kill them with that too. Deer can't eat the same thing over and over again. But when it comes to grass and conifer, there really is no food source. Always think back that deer have to feed 5 times in a 24-hour. They're rhythmic pattern feeders. That means every 4 or 5 hours they're munching on something. When they're in their bedding hours twice during the daylight, then they're just standing up, they're going 20, 40, 50 yards away, and they're browsing around and feeding, and then they're laying back down. That's why their bedding areas need to have some type of browse component, and that's why if they're in straight grass, they don't want to bed there. Now it's interesting, you could have someone in Illinois, big open area, ag area, where there's not a lot of cover, and they could say, wow, I have 20, 30 deer pop out of my grass, my switchgrass, my grass blend every single afternoon. Well, unfortunately, they don't have a choice. They don't want to be there. Think about it, they missed 2 feedings. They're ravenous now. They need to feed 5 times in a 24-hour period. That's like taking a baby that feeds every 2 to 3 hours when they're newborn, about every 2 hours. And you're just saying, okay, they don't need to feed for this 8-hour window, 1/3 of the day. They don't need to feed for this 6-hour window. That's what deer are doing when they're feeding, when they're bedding in conifer or grass, because there's no browse component. So when you're planting 20 acres of conifer, road pines, road spruce, road cedar, boy, what a disservice to the potential of that 20 acres, because you need to have about 50% in some type of browse component along with that bedding. That bedding component could surround that entire area. It could be within pockets on the inside of that area, but you need to have 40, 50, 60% in something browsable or close to being browsable. Oak isn't. Oak is a complement to that. Apple trees are a complement to that. Yeah, I'm talking about browse that lasts from October, November, all the way through March. Very important that you hit that. Acorns don't, apple trees don't, but some type of woody browse, woody regen, briars, woody shrub tips, they all hit that mark for actually providing something browsable that deer can actually feed on during their bedding hours. And then they're hitting their high quality food source in the afternoon. Hopefully if you have private land, it's a really good food plot that you've built and constructed, because that can really rule a day. Then at night they go wherever they want. They can go in people's backyards and bird feeders, shrubs, golf courses, subdivisions, whatever it might be, but they can live high in the hog, ag fields, fence rows. They're out there all night long, and that's a very good thing. So always remember, deer have to feed 5 times in a 24-hour period, and that's why I was back in maybe, let's just say 2008, 2009, 10, somewhere around there, I published an article in Quality Whitetails of the Quality Deer Management Association. And I talked about the 4 different bedding components that I'd experienced on private land and identified as weeds, briars, various early successional growth components. Then you have shrubs, then you have hardwood regeneration, then you have conifers. You have to have at least 2 or 3 out of those 4 to take place to have a good bedding area. That's why if you're all in non-browse conifer, it's bad. If you're all in non-browse grass, it's bad. So think about, you have to have that browse in there and really look past. We don't want to plant this 20, 40 acres in conifer. It's a bad choice. We don't want to plant that solid block of 20 acres of switchgrass. I have a lot of clients that have made that mistake with government programs, just to waste 20 acres except for the outside quarter acre in total edge all the way around there. So really think about that. You have to have browse, and that's why conifers, grass, anything that has no browse aspect to it at all is not good deer bedding, and a lot of times not a great wildlife cover, because whether it's pheasants, rabbits, birds, butterflies, bees, they need that diversity within that cover at the same time. Meaning, a lot of times it's best to separate the two. It's when you try marrying too many of those components together, meaning grass, conifer, forbs, forages, pollinators, weeds, then one of them takes over. In fact, if there's too much browse, you have no cover. If you have all cover, you don't have enough browse. You have to have balance, which applies to most things in deer habitat. Number two, I just threw this in here, mock scrape scent. We talk about making mock scrapes all the time. We have for many years. We have the #1 channel for mock scrape content out there. More than any chemical company, deer attractant, fake vines, fake ropes, whatever it might be. We have the most content out there because we've been doing it for the longest time, and that's why, and Dylan's probably overlaying a bunch right now, but we have lots and lots. And Dylan, I don't know how much footage we have of deer hitting mock vine scrapes. You might even have years. Well, we have years, but it's probably a terabyte, yeah, we have lots, and that's why we show it in almost every video, because that's how we identify our bucks. That's what we rely on. And you know what we do with all of that? You know how much scent we put on those vines? 0. We use no commercial scent. We have a video we're creating tomorrow about the cheapest deer habitat improvement, deer hunting attraction you can make. And it is a mock scrape. And we talk about how to do that. You can see our vertical vines, vertical branches that we use. Other than 10 cents for a piece of rope, that's about it. Am I missing anything? That's about how cheap it is. You want
to use a rake, I guess, then you're really stepping it up.
Or sometimes we've stepped on the ATV to put it up high enough, or the pickup truck, so that mock scrape might have cost $60,000, but no scent. No fake gadgets, gimmicks, and people try to make money and suck money from you. A lot of times people think, I have to add some scent, I have to add this preorbital gland scent, I have to mix this in the dirt. Hogwash, guys. It's something, we've proven this over and over again, and I can guarantee some of those scent companies don't like me, because when you look up best mock scrape scent on YouTube, it's not from a scent company, it's from me saying the best mock scrape scent that you can have is a natural scent left by the preorbital glands from many, many deer that go by and leave it on that scrape. And if you create the scrapes the way we do, we have fawns, does, young bucks, and old bucks hitting everyone that they walk by. And it's very easy to do, and it's very cheap. And there's a big misunderstanding out there that you need to add some kind of scent or waste your hard-earned dollars on some type of scent or some type of product to make it better. The only product you need to buy is about 4 feet, 3 feet of some parachute cord. Literally 10 cents worth of rope, if that. Number 3, hard and soft switchgrass seed. The hard seed has to go through stratification, has to break apart so it's viable for germination. That means numerous frosts and freezes, lots of rain and moisture. Right now we're sitting at April 7th. It's snowing outside, it's raining, it has been for a few days. It's going to for days to come. It's going to next week. Next week I see 28 in the forecast, 27, 29. Perfect time to frost seed hard switchgrass or soft switchgrass. We have plenty of time right now to go through that stratification process of excessive moisture, snow, frost, and freeze to break open that seed. So when you're looking at various seed blends out there and you're seeing that hard seed rate, you might see a total germination rate of 98%. Half of that could be a hard rate. I know right now it's hard to get good switchgrass because there's a shortage nationwide. They had drought out west last year and it damaged the switchgrass crop. So bottom line is you get some of that seed, you just have to let it go through the stratification process. It will germinate next year as long as you keep that area weed free. The soft seed is available right away. So if you're actually drilling switchgrass the end of May, middle of May, in towards June, then unless you're getting a lot of rain, then you really have to use that soft seed if you expect a high germination rate this year. We've used soft seed that we germinated at the end of June and had an incredible catch. It's right out here in the corner of our land. It's our 2-year-old switchgrass. It's doing phenomenal. That was all chemically controlled ground that was sprayed 3 times, opened up, weeds completely controlled, and then switchgrass broadcast at the same time as the 3rd spraying. And now that I mentioned that, and so we've had a good catch. But think of that, the difference of hard and soft. But I want to mention that too. I'm going to put this as number 5. Spraying seed. When you have seed laying on the ground, you can spray glyphosate on that seed. It will not kill the seed. It will not hinder your germination. You'll still get good growth. You can spray simazine on switchgrass. It won't kill the seed. It won't kill the growth, even though it stays in the ground for 60 days. If your switchgrass is going to germinate within 14 to 21 days and you put 2,4-D on it, which is a broadleaf killer, it will kill your germinating switchgrass, even though it's a grass. So think about that. A lot of people ask all the time, can you spray Roundup or glyphosate on seeds? And you certainly can. We put our seeds down, we apply our seeds, broadcast our seeds all the time, and then we spray Roundup right over the top of it. And the same applies for simazine and switchgrass. It will not kill the switchgrass. So that leads me to number 4, chemical use. Simazine, we talk about a lot, is a pre-emergent. That means if the weeds are green and showing, you're getting green growth in your area, it's too late to plant or to apply simazine. We apply that at 3 quarts per acre. It's a pre-emergent. That means it's killing things or controlling weeds that are going to come, not that are already showing and have emerged and are actually growing, which is emerged. Where post-emergent is glyphosate or 2,4-D. So once that plant is open, and you have to wait for that leaf to open, for example, ferns, they have that head that comes up, you can spray it all you want, it's not going to kill it with glyphosate or 2,4-D until it opens up into that 8-inch leaf, and then it's very easy to kill with just glyphosate. A lot of people don't spray until they're putting the food plots in July, August, it's too late. Those ferns have entered summer dormancy. You want to open when those leaves first open up, great time to kill. So glyphosate is more of a general weed killer. It does okay with grass, does pretty good with grass. It does okay with broadleaves and not so great with some broadleaves like clover, water hemp, smartweed, pigweed. Those are all ones that Roundup does a very poor job with killing. That's how we add 2,4-D. 2,4-D is a broadleaf specific killer. Controls those broadleaves that I just mentioned. You add it with Roundup. You might have to even spray them twice if they're those stubborn ones like pigweed, water hemp. And there's other harder chemicals that you can use, but we're just talking about these 3 right now. The problem with 2,4-D is it stays in the ground for 14 to 21 days. So if you're planting buckwheat, brassicas, peas, beans, within that time period, you can kill that germinating plant because the 2,4-D is still in the ground. Simazine lasts for about 60 days. So if you're planning on planting your food plots in that location, don't broadcast and spray the simazine unless it's outside of that 60-day window. 2,4-D stays in the ground for 14 to 21 days. And guess what with glyphosate or Roundup? It stays in the ground for 0 days. Once it hits soil, it's neutralized. People ask all the time, even with pond water, chemical water, they'll say, well, you can use pond water and mix it with Roundup. You can if the soil particles aren't in there. If it's disturbed in any way, if it's a creek that has any kind of runoff or rained recently, then when you mix that with your Roundup, it will kill the Roundup and diminish the use or just destroy it altogether. So really pay attention to that. You can't look at it and say, it looks clean. It looks clear. If it's pond water, swamp water, creek water, river water, lake water, you really have to be careful because if there's soil particles floating within there, you're going to kill it. And hey, it's better to be safe than sorry. I know back in the day when Roundup was very expensive, I know someone that was planting 100 acres, they sprayed that entire tank of mix on that 100 acres and didn't get a kill because they used the creek water and had runoff and mixed with soil. They pumped it, they used it, and it really destroyed their entire chemical process. So you have to be very careful with that. So chemical use, again, with these right here, you can spray glyphosate on weeds, it won't kill it. You have to really watch 2,4-D. It's a broadleaf killer, but it will kill switchgrass. Even old switchgrass, it'll severely injure. Switchgrass, it's a foot tall, 18 inches high, it'll still kill it if you spray too much, and it's very hard to regulate some of these chemicals, especially in a small acreage application where we're using ATVs. We're overlapping a lot of spray rows and patterns, and it's really hard to get the exact amount out for some of these. So you can say 2,4-D might not injure moderately aged or mature switch, but it will injure it or kill it if you spray excessive amounts. So I hope some of these misunderstandings will help you as you go into this year, whether you're planting grass, conifer plantings, and you're thinking it's going to be the world's greatest bedding area, mock scrape scent. Please don't waste your money. Hard and soft switchgrass seed. I hope that makes sense. Still plenty of time in most areas to apply switchgrass hard seed and get good germination rates later this year. And number 4, chemical use. There's some great ways to make sure you're using chemicals safe this year and effectively, and know their limits, and make sure that you understand these 4 basic misunderstandings that are common in the deer habitat industry. They're just, again, 4 out of 100 that we could have talked about, but these are some that provide some burning questions from our viewers, readers, and clients in the field right now. So I hope this can help you not only right now, but throughout this growing season and into the fall. Folks, I want to make sure you check out my web class video series, whether it's how to design your food plot program or how to design your property in general. And we have a new one coming out that'll be how to hunt the rut. But these bucks back here are a testament. Some of these bucks go back to 93. They're even in different states. I urge you to check out those web classes so that you can help yourself, help your land, help your hunt. The link is in the description. And also for those that have tried them out, I encourage you to offer some feedback in the comments below. Thank you.